Hello, you all. I'm so happy to be here. After many attempts, I have the privilege to have my dear friend Marisol with us. She's very knowledgeable about mortgages and loans in Portugal. She's also very experienced with Canadians and American clients. She's very efficient, and it's always a pleasure to work with her. On top of that, she works for Caixa Geral de Depósitos, which is one of the oldest bank in Portugal. It's the bank, the Portuguese bank with the best rating, is the bank from the state that is in the European banking system. And so I'm very happy because we have had lots of American and Canadian clients and also English asking for mortgages, for loans, and wanting to know more about mortgages and loans in Portugal. So it's a privilege to have such a nice person, such an efficient person, and so knowledgeable about these matters. About for me, I'm Sandra Gomes Pinto. I'm the founder of SGP Sandra Gomes Pinto. I'm a lawyer in Portugal for 30 years. I've done a lot of things in the last 7-8 years. We focus especially on assisting Americans, Canadians, English, investing and moving to Portugal, and want from a legal point of view that people are very clarified about what they are doing. And generally, we want them to have a smoother and a very happy life in Portugal. I have a team of experienced lawyers and relocation agencies very committed to help people, to assist people, to make a difference in the life of those moving to Portugal. Now, without further ado, because everybody wants to know more about mortgages and not so much about our business, Marisol, please tell us a little bit more about Caixa Geral de Depósitos and why is it a bank worth thinking about when you are opening a bank account, getting a mortgage, or getting a loan in Portugal? Why Caixa Geral de Depósitos?
So, thank you so much, Sandra. Welcome everybody that is here in this webinar. So, as you mentioned, my name is Marisol Ribeiro. I've been working with Caixa Geral de Depósitos for the last 27 years. So, if you ask why Caixa Geral de Depósitos, it's because it's my bank. And it's about my bank, or the bank that I've been working and that I'm very pleased to be part. But it's because we are first 100% the state ownership bank in the country. We are in place since in business since 1876. So we are 148 years old. That is a lot. We go through a lot of crisis, in economic crisis in this last 148 years. We are the first bank in Portugal with more than 4 million of customers. We are the first bank in Portugal with more digital customers. We lead in Portugal in deposits, mortgage, loans, in the personal business and also for companies and business. So we are associated with the investments grades in the three agencies like Moody's, Fitch ratings, DBRS. So Portugal is a bank that you can count. In top of that, we are a very international bank. We are present in 90 countries around the world. So you can see Caixa Geral de Depósitos in North America, in Canada, or in South America, in Venezuela, Brazil. You can go move forward to Africa, you go to Mozambique, Angola, South Africa. If you go to Asia, you can see Caixa in Macau, or if you are in Europe, you, of course, in Portugal. These are main operation, but you have in Belgium, France, Germany, UK. So we are around the world. So that is very good for our customers because they know that we can know about the economies, the markets, and knowledge about what kind of documentation is required for each of that countries that we are present. So that is Caixa.
Yes, and it's a very safe country, it's a safe bank in these moments of, in all the crises that the banking system has suffered. It's important. That's a safe
yes,
bank. Yes,
the fact that we are 100% a state bank that gives
yes.
our reinforces security when the customer thinking input some of your savings or doing banking with in another country that they don't know, they don't use to live, and they wanted to move or live in a few months a year. So it's good to have a banking as partners that you can count and rely on.
Yes. We have been learning a lot, Marisol, with you and also with our clients and with our American and Canadian clients. We understand that they are much more financial literate than us, Portuguese, and we have observed that many times, although they have the money, the savings to acquire a property, they prefer to keep the savings and to get a mortgage to buy this property. And they do it several times, even very wealthy people. And I would like you to explain why could that make sense for an American or a Canadian client to keep their savings and to get a loan to buy a property in Portugal. Why does this make sense? What is the financial benefit? What might be?
So perhaps, as you mentioned, the main benefits is associated with the fact that the customers do not need to decapitalize in full to buy a property, so they can keep some of their savings in different financial products that they have with an interest rate. So that could be a big benefit when we talk about that. But of course, you can have other reasons to go through a mortgage when you think investing in a foreign country, like sometimes better interest ratings than the home country, or start to creation a credit history, or reasons related with the exchange rate. If you are in Canada or US, you have reasons related to exchange rate, and that could be a very good reason to not put all the money in to buy a property.
So two years ago, when we were working, our American clients were amazed with our interest rates and were really thrilled about it. Now, is it common? Can it happen that you have savings in the US where they are benefit from better interest rates than what they would be paying for a loan or a mortgage here? Could that be common? Yes.
Yes, that could be depends of the type of investments that they have in US or in Canada. They can have a very good interest rate, and that could be one reason to not withdraw the money in the savings and just borrow the money, because in Portugal, the interest rate, if we compare what is going on in Canada or in the US, you can save money.
Okay. I was just looking at the questions. There were some questions about the documentation, but I think I will go to the questions more at the end, and now I will run some of our questions. But can you please tell us, there is someone here asking, what are the documents needed if you want to get a mortgage in Portugal?
So I can, so if you are, I don't know, if you are a self-employee or if you are an employee, that can be a kind of a bit difference. But imagine that the person that asks is an employee. What we will ask for sure is the passport, a copy of the Portuguese tax number, the NIF. That is mandatory if you are buying
Yes.
or getting a mortgage. For sure, an employer letter stating the current salary, the type of employment, the job title, the time with the company. Normally, Portugal asks for payslip for the last 3 months or proof of other types of incomes that you can receive in a regular basis. They will ask for bank statements for the last 3 months for main account, savings accounts, or other financial products that you can have. If you are thinking is a North American, can have the 401, oh my God, the 401k or other types of the 101b or whatever. So they have a lot of products for retirement. For sure, we ask the last income tax return. And in this case, if it's a North America, please be sure that you bring the complete documents with the federal and the state, if it's applicable, because depending on the state, you need or no need to declare the income that you have. If it's for Canada, depending on the province as well. So that is the request. And for sure, a detailed credit report. As you know, you are applying for a mortgage in a country that you don't live, don't have any credit history, and you need to build one. And so to go forward for all the analysis, the bank will ask, how are you doing in your country? So what is your credit report there? You have a good score. What are your accounts that they are open, they are closed? How much you pay per month? You are always paying correctly on time. So we will need to go through all this process. So it's a lot of documentation that we ask. Some of the documentation is just because we are not in your country, and the way we have assets is through the customer. The customers need to bring all this documentation to us.
And another question that I would like to ask, there's someone asking if a property can be 100% financed through a mortgage or a loan in Portugal. I assume for non-residents, but because I'm assuming we are talking about non-residents.
So no, it's not possible to go to 100%. If you are buying a secondary home, you need to put at least 20% of down payment. If you are buying to invest, then the bank minimum will ask for 25% of down payment. So the customers need to put some money to buy a property.
So is, as we say in Portugal, one thing if you're buying for residence, for your first residency, another thing if you're buying a second home or for investment. So in the first situation, you could be financed until 80%. In the second situation, if it's investment or a second home, you could finance it in Portugal if you're non-resident up to 75%.
Exactly. That's much that indeed.
And at what stage could it make sense for me to apply for a mortgage, for a client to apply for a mortgage? At what stage, when I'm about to look for a house, when I already signed the promissory contract? Can you please elaborate, tell us a little bit about this?
So as soon as possible, if you're thinking in invest in Portugal or invest wherever you think it, so it's common sense. If you are thinking invest, you will go through your savings. You say, oh, no, I'm going through some parts for borrow the money. So it starts just right there. So I'm going to Portugal, visit Portugal. So just verify with your real estate or broker that you are dealing with to ask the documentations or participate in this kind of webinars to acknowledge a bit more what is required, and start immediately to get some simulations or at least a pre-approval. Of course, the approval will be only possible when you have a property, a specific property, but at least you have in mind how much I can borrow for the bank.
Yes. So I
And
think it would make sense to get a pre-approval, and even if you have the time, even before a promissory contract, which is typical when you are buying a property, to address things properly. And so you are not in the situation of breach of contract. So to get, once you are thinking about a property, buying a property, to get a mortgage pre-approved would make all the sense. There's someone here asking something which is interesting, and then afterwards I will tell a story from a client. But he's asking, do Europeans also need something like a credit score report, or is it income statement from last year's and pay slips enough?
no, it's requested as well the credit report. And the pay slips and the income. So that is pretty the same for all the customers. Of course, if you are in Portugal, the banks can get the credit report directly. But as we are, you are asking for a mortgage in a country that you do not have credit history, and the bank is not present in the other country, is why the customer need to bring the credit report, and all the customers need to bring the pay slip if they are employee, and the letter of the company, the last income.
I think it's also important to mention that in Europe, the banking system is interconnected. So we had a German client that didn't tell about all the credits he had, but then in the end, in European bank system, everything is known how. So the bank knew exactly what income he had and what credits he had. So
that is,
yes.
We are regulated for the bank, central bank, and then we have, it's like a lot of small then national banks that are in place regulate for one big is the bank central. So
there's someone with an interesting question. He said, we are here as an D7 and with passive income, which is income from a pension or rentals or investment, of approximately 2,200 euros monthly. Can we still get a mortgage if you're not employed? Also, mortgage interest paid, is it tax deductible?
So if you are retired, yes, you can apply for a mortgage. However, it's important to say that in Portugal, the mortgage has a limit on the age of the applicant. So the number of years that you can have the mortgage will depend on what age you have. That is one thing. The other, can you just repeat, Sandra, if
the mortgage interest is tax deductible, if the mortgage interest, it could be somehow tax deductible.
So in Portugal, it's not. However, if you are a tax resident in another country, and if you are American, you for sure you need to go through the taxes there. So depending on the regimens can be or no. So that is depending on your tax residence. In Portugal, in fact, it's not for a personal. If it's a business, it's totally different, because that they can deduct a part of the interest rate, but for a personal, no.
I have also our dear friend Eduardo Magalhães, which we already helped opening a bank account and doing the promissory contract. And he now saying he already signed the promissory contract, and he's asking whether he still can apply for a mortgage. And I will do this answer on your behalf. Sorry, Marisol, but I think you still can apply for a mortgage. You just need to send the documentation asked for the bank, and we can easily take care of that. So please, Eduardo, you can contact us and we will immediately send the stuff to Caixa Geral de Depósitos and to Marisol to help you with this stuff.
Until, just to add, until the closing date, you can go through a mortgage. So you just need to have the time to get the approval, to make the appraisal, and to schedule the closing date. So
we have some other interesting questions. Matt Treadgold, what language is acceptable for the requested paperwork? Credit check, letter from the employee. What language is acceptable for this?
So English, French, and Portuguese. Other languages need to be translated. I'm so sorry.
There is a very interesting question from Roy Branco also. What are the mortgage rates and durations?
So the duration of the mortgage will depend on the age of the applicant. That's just be aware. I already mentioned the limit is 75 years old, and if you are over 35 years old, so you can go through a mortgage for 30 years or 35 years. So depending. So in total, it's possible to have a mortgage for 40 years, but only if you are under, if you are 30 years or younger to get that kind of mortgage. So that's will depend. But for sure, 30 years if you are 35 years or older. And with the limit of the 75. That is for the term of the process. With Caixa Geral de Depósitos, you can have different kinds of interest rates, the variable or the fixed. And the fixed, we have from 5 to 30 years fixed rate. That is in addition with a spread. The spread is a percentage that is what the bank normally negotiates with the customers, and depending on the number of products, what is the relation in what you are putting as down payment and you are buying. So it's a different kinds of factors. It's a negotiations between you and the bank. Could be 2% if you, or could be 1% or 0.5%. So that's all depends a lot in the negotiation, the products you have, and the percentage that you are putting down payments.
We have here Azizaz Tair telling us that it's really frustrating. He intends to buy a property, to have a permanent address. They ask to open a bank account. They say he has to have a resident permit, and so he cannot open a bank account because he hasn't yet the resident permit. I think that let me answer that if you allow me, Marisol. I've been learning a lot with you lately, and so I would tell to Azir that if he presents additional documentation, it's still possible to open a bank account even without the resident permit. Please, if he wants, he can send us an email, and then we can address that. If he has all the documentation, everything in order, it is possible for him to open a bank account with several banks, even without a resident permit. We have our dear client and friend, Almer Salientes, with lots of questions. Let me see, perhaps it will be difficult to address them all here. He's saying that if you have an existing mortgage in the US and you plan to buy another home in Portugal, will the bank take a look at your complete loss ratios for both countries?
Yes, we will verify what are you paying in US for the mortgage. If you still go through that mortgage, the banks will analyze as an expense, and they will deduct to analyze what is your income that is possible to go forward to get a mortgage in Portugal. Okay.
Our
So
dear,
that,
yes.
what the banks will see is how much is your monthly payments, and if that monthly payment plus the monthly payment in Portugal, you still have money to live a regular life and not have a lot of expensive monthly expenses.
So you look at the overall income and the overall savings that the client saves. So
Yes.
I'm there to say that, Armel, you will not have a problem. But if he's asking a very interesting question, Armel, as always, he's saying if a pre-approval of a mortgage is only good for 30 years, and if the property is scheduled for completion after a year, do you need to reapply again?
Yes, so the pre-approval is has a very short term, so it's not valid for 6 months, neither. Normally it's 1 month in Portugal. So the banks can ask to add more information, recent information, like if it's last year, we work in 2022, for example, for the income. So as you already in US, the term to submit the income tax was April, so we'll ask for 2023. We will ask for the most recent credit report with less than 30 days. So we will ask to give us recent information to do the reanalysis and do the reapproval.
Mm-hmm. There is a very interesting question also from Armel, but this is a question for me. If you can put in the contract that in the event you are unable to secure the loan, the developer will return the down payment and then the promissory contract will consider void. So it is possible to establish a promissory contract under the condition that your loan is approved. And if it's not approved, it's possible to establish then the contract could be considered void and not produce any effect. Let me see. If one wants to buy a house to move to Portugal as a primary home, how one can prove that it will be the primary home?
So you need that is a declaration, and you need to give the information that will be my first home. You need to have all the visas required to stay in the country more than the period for a tourism. So you need to give all that, and you need to have the permanent residence cards in Portugal to prove that. So.
Yes. And afterwards, you have to become tax resident and you have to indicate the address of that home as your tax residency. So there were more people asking about age requirements, and it's important to establish what you just had, Marisol, again. The Portuguese banks only you can have a loan until the age of 75. This is clear. And there's someone asking, Stephen White, is it possible to obtain a loan to help refurbish properties in Portugal? For example, I purchase a home for 20,000 euros. Will I be able to leverage assets to obtain a loan?
Yes, yes, it's possible. It's normally what I think I mentioned when we talk about the types of mortgages that we have. We can have one for personal investments and related with your own home. That is possible. And this is a specific situation that you can reverse your home with 100% of the land. Imagine that you need 25K, it is possible to give you the 25K. So is one of the options.
So if we don't answer any of your questions, then as a disclaimer, probably we won't address specifically some of your questions. So please contact us And we also will be in contact with Marisol to any of your questions, and we will be also providing answers after this webinar. So please deny that is from my team here helping me. You can say people that if there is a question outside of the scope we are covering, that will come back to them later, and they can email us. Please indicate our email and our site also. Email us and we will provide to give you answers as app, also with the help of and the knowledge of Marisol. What about the mortgage conditions, Marisol? Can you tell us a little bit more about possible interest rates, possible times of the mortgage, and what is the lending criteria? You already covered a little bit of that, but can you cover it a little again?
Yes, so the lending criteria will be depending on the age, 75. Normally, if you are over 35 years, normally the loans will be 30 years. The value of the fixed rate, so April just ending, I have the rates in my head for April, not really for May, but for instance, in April, 5 years fixed interest rate was 3% plus the spread. For 10 years was 3.5, or for 30 years was 3.5. If we compare that to the Euribor for 6 months, that is what normal the banks use, is 3.89%. So the fixed interest rates are more interest to go than the variable rates, if we look only in this. If we think in long term, and if we are comparing the market and what all the central banks are saying, is expect that in the next couple of months, of course, if you are in the variable rate, you will get that decrease of the rates in your mortgage. That will be not happening in the fixed rate. But the fixed rate, for me, they are they're very good when compared with the interest rates, fixed interest rates in US or in Canada, that is 5 or over 5%. So.
And what is the maximum time of a mortgage in Portugal?
So the maximum time will depend if you are a non-resident, if you are a non-usual resident, if you are a non-resident with a golden visa, or if you are or resident. So that will depend, but that's at least 30 years term with the limit of 75.
And about the mortgage conditions, and now that we are talking about Caixa Geral de Depósitos, I have someone here with a question. If I have a loan or a mortgage with another bank, can I transfer my loan or my mortgage to Caixa Geral de Depósitos? Is it possible?
Yes, it's possible. We have at the moment, we have a specific product to transfer, to do the transfers of the mortgage for all the process that's be approved until December 31, and do the closing, the transfer until February 28th. 2025. So, and yes, it's possible. So if you want, we can go through. We need a specific documentation to verify the conditions that you have there, the amounts that you remains. We need to look at, but
yes,
it's possible.
I need this process that Caixa is doing to attract transference of mortgages to Caixa. What are the advantages? What is Caixa offering? I think we want to know.
Yes, for example, we are offering the complete refund for the formalization fee. We are repaying the fee applicable by the previous lender up to 0.5%. So the banks that we have, we pay, but we have a limit of percentage, and we accept the preparation and the evaluation fees. So we have a very specific campaign to allow the customers.
That sounds very attractive. Can you tell me about these formalization fees? How much is it? And also the formalization evaluation fees, how much is it on average? So people, and also to benefit up to 0.5, it's great.
5%.
Yes. It could mean lots of thousands of euros. So
yes,
considering Caixa, if you already have a mortgage or a loan, might make sense.
Normally the preparation is around 309 euros plus taxes. Evaluation of properties around 230 plus tax. In fact, it's a stamp tax. That is for the evaluation and the property, the others.
Yes, and 0.5% on the taxes that on interest that can be very interesting. Can you tell me more about the process of applying, step by step of the process applying for a mortgage?
Okay, just
you already mentioned the documentation, but perhaps you can. Okay. Yes.
Step by step.
Yes.
First, of course, is to meet all the necessary documentation to analyze and get a pre-approval, the decision on the specific property that you want. Then if you don't have a bank account, you will need at this moment to have a bank account to get the simulation or pre-approval is not required, but to moving forward, you will need it. Then property, then we have the confirmation of the approval. You need to signing the insurance if it's applicable, like home or life, depending, but because it's possible to avoid at least the life in specific conditions. And then it's just to schedule the deed. So appears very easy, but takes, of course, it's not the one day for another, takes some time.
Yes, I was taking some notes, and because it's really important to know that. And on average, how much, how long does it take?
So I believe normal is between,
yes,
is between 2-3 months. That is around 2 months.
Yes, but I think
that is a good time.
Yes. But I think I've seen process taking less time also with Caixa when people already had all the documents prepared, and that took much less time. Yes.
Yes, it's just to give a length. I prefer to go through the Word length, and then they have a very good situation that is less. But at least 2 months if you need to prepare all, because everything needs to be complete, everything you need to bring at once. And sometimes we have a situation that is not because of the bank, but because the property is not properly registered, and then it's required to do some changes in there. So sometimes can be less, sometimes can be more, but count at least 2 months just to be sure that you can do everything without too much stress.
Can you please tell us a little bit about, because for sometimes it's difficult to understand all the language related to rates and to Euribor, and what does it mean Euribor, and what does it depend Euribor? Who establishes Euribor? I think this, for Canadian and American clientele, this is quite an important knowledge for them to understand what is Euribor and how it is made, who Who tells what Euribor is?
So,
Tell us everything.
okay, so Euribor. Euribor is a short term for Euro interbank offered rate. That is what means Euribor. So Euribor. So the Euribor rates are based on the average, the interest rate at which a large panel of European banks borrow funds from one to another. There are different maturities ranging from 1 week to 1 year. The most common between the maturity Euribor in loans is Euribor at 6 months and sometimes 12 months. That is what most common. But it's what means the Euribor and is what is used in all the European Euro countries.
Can you please tell us what at this moment, if you have an idea, because this is always changing, what is Euribor at 6 months and what is Euribor at 12 months?
So I can give you for 6 months because I have here for 12 months I need to go, but is on April Euribor 6 months was 3.895%, and the 12 months is pretty similar. So
yes. So if I'm getting a loan now, if I'm as Armel, I'm 54, I will get a loan until 75 for more 20 years. And how much if I get this Euribor, what is the interest rate that I will be paying if I get a loan now and I will go for Euribor at 6 months? I will pay that amount or I will pay that amount plus a spread?
It's always plus spread, that amount plus spread, and the spread is a negotiation between the parties, and will depend on the products and service you are doing with the bank, and as well the percentage of down payments that you are, how much money are you putting in to buy the property. So it's hard to know because we need to analyze all. But imagine that we have a spread plus 1%, you have interest rate of 4.8%, and that is what you
so in theory, the more you pay from your own savings and the more of your own money you pay in terms of percentage, the lower the tax rate might be, or that can impact positive.
Yes, for sure, definitely.
I have a question that lots of people ask. Can I add the taxes to be paid by the mortgage?
No. No, if you want to buy a property in Portugal, you will need to go through your own equity to pay the taxes. I'm so sorry.
Yes, I believe I already covered most of the questions I had here. I will take a look at our viewers' questions. Armel Saliente is always providing us with excellent questions. Is there a difference in interest rates if the home you're buying is your primary house or versus your secondary home?
For primary and secondary, the interest rate
are different. Yes,
it's not too much different. Will be different if it's for investments. That will be higher. When you are buying to invest with a mortgage, the interest rate is higher than if you are going through a primary or a secondary home.
Okay, for investment is higher. And can you elaborate? Can you explain what are the difference of interest rates? Can you elaborate on that?
Normally, it's higher. It's higher because if you are getting an income from that, it's not for your own use. So we assume it for your own use, you need to an extra income. So it's why normally the banks put a higher interest rate. Normally it's 1%, 1.5% more than
If it's
that is
investment.
usual in this thing.
Armel is asking a question, and this question might be from me. What would be the cost of the transaction itself for him to be on the safe side and even to do a home inspection if needed, to do every possible due diligence? I think if you put 10% on the top and you lawyers' costs, everything, if we put 10% on the value of a house, you are ready to go and we'll have some money left in the end. He also is asking if a very interesting question that comments a lot, and it's very important, that if the evaluation report from the bank establish a value for the house that is lower than the purchase price of the house, that means that the bank will only take into account the value of the evaluation, the lower value?
Yes, yes. It's the lower value between what the purchase is and what is the price made by the bank. So if it's a big difference, just be sure if you are buying the correct property.
Yes, yes, that's really important. But just picking on what Marisol said, let us imagine that you're buying a house for 1 million euro, but the evaluation of the bank was only 800,000 euros. Then the bank will only, in principle, if you're non-resident, will loan only 70% of the evaluation value, of the lower value. Is that so, Marisol?
Correct.
There's also a very interesting question from an attendee. What are the conditions for mortgages to buy land and build? I think that's a very interesting question.
Yes, it is. It's very specific, in fact. So because it's possible to finance the land as well, but the value to finance the land is almost is 40% if the memory is not is good. So 40% of the land. So you need to put 60%. We'll analyze the 75% or the 80% of the future appraisal of the home. So we analyze what are the materials that you are putting in the home, what are you doing inside the home to build, and then we might and what is the code you have, because for sure you will be requesting for someone to build the house. So, and they will present a code with all the materials, the hand, how much it is, and then the bank evaluate is in accordance with the normal values. And normally the banks you can borrow at least 8% or 75%, depending in the house, if it's for secondary home or for investments, whatever. But yes, it's possible, and it's possible to do all in once. You can get the land and the constructions at the same time, or you can get first the land and then the construction, but you have a time. And please be aware that when it's constructions, you need to have a lot of license, public license, but that is under department to the banks start putting the money into the construction.
So let me paraphrase, just repeat what you said, which is quite important, and I want everybody to fix that and to know that. So if you're buying to construct, you, in respect to the land, the bank, as a normal rule, loan up to 40%. Is that so? In respect to the land. In respect to the construction, the bank will analyze the project and all the papers and to see if everything is legal and if everything makes sense. And if he finds all the other conditions correct, he may loan up to 75% of the constructions, but the bank probably will only release the money as he sees the construction progressing, and will have someone supervising that.
Yes, they will have a supervisor, and to start the constructions, the bank will ask to present all the public license that you need to have to start the constructions. If you do not have the license to start the constructions, the bank will not release nothing.
Okay. There is also a very interesting question that is it possible to get a mortgage after purchasing a property? So someone bought a house and paid in cash, and now they want some to have some spare money they need. And is it possible to get a mortgage after having paid a house fully in cash?
Yes, is what we normally call in Portugal like multi-opções. Yes, it's possible to get a mortgage, so give the house as a guarantee of a loan, and that, yes, is possible. We have always the limit of the age and the number of years that you can apply according to the age, but yes, it's possible you can get to, for example, to do renovations in your own house, or to have another projects that you want to invest and you decapitalize because you put all your savings when you buy the house. Yes, it is possible. So the banks will go appraisal the property, see how much are you asking, and give you a 2 or 3 types of simulation if you want to go to the variable rates or fixed rates, but yes, it's possible.
Our dear friend Eduardo Magalhães also has a great question. He's telling me that he already signed a promissory contract. The house will only be ready by 2025, but he already has the projects, everything. He has all the papers in respect to the project. And he's asking, when shall I start the process for a mortgage?
So you can, which month in 2025?
By the end of 2025, but he has all the papers, he has all the papers and all the construction papers and all the details of the materials. So I think he could start for a pre-approval now.
Yes, he can start for a pre-approval, but just to be aware that when it's made in the closing, the bank will ask to send more actual information, recent information, as I mentioned before. But yes, it's possible. But you will only, so you buy, you are not the owner of the land, neither the constructions. You just have a promissory contract that you will be doing the closing as soon as the construction is ready and the licenses will be released. And only in that time is when the banks go through the mortgage.
Yes.
And release the funds. So, but yes, it's possible, start now or at least 2-3 months before.
And I think it's very important to have a pre-approval, to have an idea, an idea if it would be approved, and at this time what he would pay, although it's not definitive, it might be important.
Yes, will not definitive because the interest rate that will be applied will be the interest rate for 2025. So for sure will be better than now. If we expect that that the markets will decrease the interest rate.
There is also a very interesting question for an anonymous attendee that he's asking if to get a mortgage to rebuild an existing old construction is has the same conditions than to have a mortgage to build from scratch. So if he's building an old construction, Is it easier to get a mortgage than if he's building a new construction? Are there any differences?
So the benefits if is exist that the house is already exist, you just
Yes.
need to renovate.
Mhm.
So could be easier in that case because the bank, according in what is already there, they can release more funds on front than in the constructions that you need to start the constructions to release the funds. So that could be the difference between one and another. The banks
that-
can release more funds on
So
front because you have already a house built.
yeah. So it might be easier. It might be easier. It depends on the case to get a mortgage for pre-existing construction that you are rebuilding. There is also a super interesting question against our friend and client Armel Salientes always provide us with excellent questions. Is a life insurance required to apply a mortgage even if you put down 50%? And I would add a question to that. Is always mandatory to have a life insurance when you have a mortgage?
So in almost of the cases mandatory, but for non-residents and when the people is putting that kind of money, is possible avoid the life insurance. That is pretty normal. So if you are putting 50% for sure, it's possible. If you don't want to have a life insurance, it's possible avoid that. What is not possible avoid is the home insurance. You always need to have home insurance if you have a mortgage or don't have a mortgage. Is law in Portugal. You have a home insurance for your property.
We have also an interesting question for our dear friend James Faden, and if you allow me, I will try to answer that, and then you correct me if I'm not saying anything, if I'm saying anything incorrect. What does a person do if you want to retire and move to Portugal and buy a house and get a mortgage, but you're past 70 years old and doesn't want to lend past the age 75? So you are 70 and you want to get a loan and a mortgage to buy a house. I think that there are these options of leases. Sometimes this might be an option, or you might buy the house in the name of your children and you will be the grantor, and you can be also put in a contract that you will be using the house, but your children would be the proprietor of the house while you'll be entitled to use it while you're living. This is in Portuguese, it's called usufruto. It is possible to separate property and say that your children will have the ownership of the house and you'll be using the house during the time of your life. This could be a possible solution, but come back to us, James, and we might get you the right solution for you, because there are several options that it doesn't make sense into much details, but I think for sure there are options for you and for all the other people that are attending us. Let me see. I think we are about to end our time. And I think we covered most of the questions. As a disclaimer, if we didn't cover any of the questions, please come back to us. And myself, my team, together with Marisol, we will provide you all the answers. Thank you, Marisol. It's always a pleasure to work with you. I always love when people are efficient and nice and responsive and quick. And I think you have all the things together.
Thank you so much, Sandra.
Plus the 27 years in banking and the extraordinary experience with Canadian and American clients, which is always a plus to us. And it's good to work with such a safe bank and that has so many international presence. I think makes everything easier for all of us. I think at the end, if anyone still has questions about buying a property, the process of buying a property. I still think that we have so many people interested in Portugal. I think we offer an excellent lifestyle. So please, even if you are 70, still buy houses here. I think it makes sense. Still get loans here. I think it makes all the sense. It's a great country to invest. And we will be doing other webinars with Marisol if she takes us. I think it's very important, and we are very happy. I learned a lot, and I hope that those that assisted us also had the possibility to learn with Marisol. Thank you again, and thank you for doing this with us.
Thank you for all the questions, and thank you for being our partner.
Yes. Okay, thank you, Marisol. Thank you all. And please, if you still have questions, just email us and we will provide the answers, and we will, together with the assistance and help for Marisol. Thank you so much.
Thank you.